So just how do you watch a franchise with 500 plus episodes? It's a good question, one that has plagued man for years. Just how do you watch Gundam? I see a lot of posts on anime forums and certain other websites that ask, how do I start watching Gundam? Well, for these people, this video is for you. Now, I already did a similar video like this for Fate Stay Night, and I think I should clarify something before starting. This isn't a strict guide. There are many ways to get into any franchise, even if it's not the correct one. What I hope to do is just give people a good place to start. And there's no better place than the beginning. Mobile Suit Gundam is not just required watching for Gundam fans, but any anime fan in general. First airing in 1979, spanning 43 episodes, Mobile Suit Gundam wasn't the smash hit you'd think it was. It was originally cancelled after 13 episodes, and only brought back because of toy sales. Ever since then, Gundam has been a marketing tool for otaku. Well, there's more to the series than just that. Gundam was unique at its time, where most robot shows would focus on man versus machine, man versus dinosaur, man versus aliens. Gundam was man versus man. It was at once a gritty war story and a pulpy 70s sci-fi, in a way that only anime could be. After its initial run, the TV series was adapted into 3 movies. This leads into sort of a divide of whether to watch the movies or the TV series. A lot of people go with the movies just because there's less time, but they do cut out things, and personally, I felt that the pacing was a little bit off. The movies are 2 hours-ish, so that's 6 hours right there. The movies benefit from having the animation bumped up a little because even for its time, Mobile Suit Gundam did not have good animation. However, the downside to watching the movies is that the pacing is a little bit off, and there are moments where you can tell that an episode was supposed to end. 43 episodes, condensed into 3 movies, doesn't flow quite as smoothly as you think it would. The TV series, on the other hand, has a lot of quality animation, and a few episodes that you could probably do without. I'd say that the movies and the TV series are on par with each other, which is rare for compilation movies in the Gundam franchise. Whether you go with the TV series or the movies, you'll be getting an anime classic that still holds up today. Its anti-war themes are still as effective today as they were back in '79. Plus, it's a great sci-fi story. Aside from the original trilogy, the Gundam compilation movies are notoriously bad. That's what happens when you try to shrink down a 50-episode TV series into such a small time slot. The only reason that the original trilogy really worked was because they had 2 hours for each movie, which was a whole 6-hour experience. A lot of other compilation movies are only an hour and a half and cover even more material. The only reason that the original compilation movies work is that they had a little less content to cover and a lot more time. If you decide to watch the TV series and like it, you might want to check out the movies. And if you watch the movies and like it, you might want to check out the TV series later. The original Mobile Suit Gundam was followed up by Zeta Gundam in 1985. Zeta solidified what a Gundam TV series would become. Many of the usual Gundam tropes and themes started in this very series. Mid-season upgrades, Zaku clones, Char clones, sort of. It's all in here. And that again makes it required watching for any Gundam fan. Part of what makes this series so great is seeing the old cast come and reprise their roles. Seeing how these characters have matured or bonded was what really kept me interested in Zeta, and hopefully it will keep you interested too. Aside from the old cast, there's still a lot to like in the new cast, and Zeta introduced some of the most iconic Gundam characters. The next one is a little bit tougher. Double Zeta is either the best Gundam series or the worst Gundam series, depending on who you ask. And for me, it's one of the worst. A lot of the early plot relies on coincidences, making both the protagonist and antagonist seem utterly useless. A lot of people will claim that this series gets better, and it does, but only to sink right back down into the pile of shit it came from. The problem is that it fluctuates. I'd dare say that the Dublin arc has one of the best moments in Gundam history, but Double Zeta also has Moon Moon, a space colony where they don't rely on technology. Sorry, it's hard to care about your technology's bad message when the environment is completely man-made. A lot of people say that Double Zeta is only bad because it was aired right next to Zeta, and that taking a break in between them would help your perspective. It sure as hell didn't help mine. Wait all you want, that doesn't make Moon Moon any less retarded. But still, is Double Zeta worth it? I'd say it isn't, but I'd try at least a few episodes. Just a few to give you an idea of the series' low points. And if you can tolerate, or God forbid enjoy that, then you'll probably be fine going through the rest of the series. Or you'll be like me and watch all of it, even though you hate it because you're a goddamn completionist. There are people out there that say Double Zeta is their favorite Gundam series, and I guess it's just a difference in opinion, because their opinion's bad. Regardless of whether or not you watch Double Zeta, Char's counterattack comes next, and this is the big finale between Amuro, Char, and Quest. Fuck this. It's only a movie, but there's still a lot here to enjoy, aside from some of the new characters. This is the big finale to the core part of the Universal Century. The animation is terrific, and it highlights the rivalry between Char and Amuro fantastically. Unfortunately, it also has some of the worst fucking characters ever. But I'd still say it's definitely worth a watch, especially since it's only a movie. From here, you can pretty much pick and choose whatever series you want. There's two more big entries in the Universal Century timeline, F91 and Victory. Both of these are relatively disconnected from the original trilogy, so you can really watch them after being introduced to the UC timeline. There's also a live-action film, but we don't talk about that. In the late 80s to the late 90s, there were 3 OVA series produced. These series take place during or after the events of the original series. They're pretty accessible after watching the original series, with the exception of Stardust Memories, which I'd recommend saving till after Zeta, because it bridges the gap between the original and Zeta. These OVAs are short, but they don't lose any of the charm that Gundam has. In fact, War in the Pocket is what I'd consider the best entry in the entire Gundam franchise. Overall, they have 90s OVA tier animation, which is fantastic, and really give you a larger sense of the Gundam universe. Make sure not to miss these ones. Gundam Unicorn is the latest entry in the UC timeline. It has 7 episodes and is worth checking out for the animation alone. It's a shame about that plot, though. It ties in heavily with Char's counterattack, and also seems to forget that F91 exists. And while I didn't find the characters of Mineva or Banagher all that compelling, there's still a lot that you can take away from this. I'd save it till at least after you've seen Char's counterattack in the OVA series. And probably F91 if you just want to laugh whenever they talk about peace lasting in the Universal Century. Outside of the UC, there's alternate universes, or AUs. All these series function independently of each other, with a few exceptions. A lot of these series would make good starting points on their own, though I would suggest starting with the older series to catch the recurring themes and tropes that are in Gundam shows. G Gundam was the first AU, and it's totally different from any other Gundam series before it. And the thing is, G's better for it. It's probably my personal favorite AU, and it's a pretty fun ride if you're looking for Gundam not being Gundam. Wing has the distinction of being the first Gundam series to air in the US, and Gundam 00 was the first to be set in our own timeline, AD, bringing the plot a lot closer to home. It was also my first Gundam series. I would say it's a good place to start. Gundam After War X was the first since the original series to get cancelled. That's an achievement, I guess. However, there are also AUs that aren't looked upon so well. Both Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny distill the anti-war themes of Gundam, making their protagonist into a man who can literally do no wrong. It's a 100-episode slog, and it's not worth it by any means. Ironically, this is one of the more popular Gundam series, especially in Japan. There's still not much to get out of it, and it's widely regarded as the worst Gundam series. It's sad to say, but Seed is also one of the few series I own on DVD.
Alright, you guys are going to like what I have for you today, because I have a super rare version of Gundam Seed on DVD. I don't think it was that widely released here in America. Here it is. Yeah, see, Gundam Seed. So anyways, this is the Anime Legends version, and let's just look at what a fine job they did on the DVDs. The fuck is a Geass?
Age is held in slightly better regard, but only as the second worst. Honestly, I forget this show exists half the time. You can try these shows if you want, but don't say I didn't warn you. Now, if you've seen Gundam, then you might have noticed that I've been avoiding one series in particular. This one's hard to place, as it was going to be series creator Tomino's last Gundam series. He wanted to go out in the way that he came in, with something completely new. Turn A isn't even really about the war, it's about a war that's about to happen. It spends its time focusing on the characters inside of the conflict. It's absolutely required watching, but the tough part is when. The name Turn A is a mathematical symbol, which means for all. So Turn A Gundam is supposed to be the Gundam series to end all Gundam series. There's numerous references to the Universal Century and even a few other AUs. You'll be fine watching Turn A after the original Gundam. Hell, you could watch it on its own and still get the plot, but there's a lot to be gained by waiting to watch the series. Think of Turn A as the cherry on top of the sundae that is Gundam. Go through the UC timeline and maybe a few other AU series, then come back for one of the best that Gundam has to offer. The newest series, G-Reco, takes place after UC, and since it's still airing, I'm withholding my full judgment. Tomino is back at directing again after a very, very long break from Gundam, making this his first Gundam series in 14 years. So far, you don't need to know that much about the Universal Century other than that it exists and shit went down. This sort of ties into Turn A, but in kind of a spoilery way, so I'd probably save G-Reco for after Turn A. There's one more series I want to cover, and that's Gundam Build Fighters. I'm tempted to call it a spin-off instead of an AU, because it doesn't really carry over any of the anti-war themes that are in every Gundam series. That doesn't mean it's bad. Build Fighters and its sequel Try are almost like a Where's Waldo game for mobile suits. The appeal definitely lies within seeing old suits animated like new, and little Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the show. Watch as many series as you can before watching Build Fighters, because even then, there'll still be references going over your head. By no means required watching, but it's fun nonetheless. As I said before, this video isn't made to rigidly guide you through Gundam. This isn't the right way to watch the series, because you can pretty much watch them however you want. But it's interesting to see the series evolve from such a little show into the massive behemoth that it is today. Gundam is going to drain your time, and if you're not careful, your wallet too.